Neighbours save woman from near death by strangulation. Kerry Allan, strangled by then-partner Michael Cosgrove. Finally, a fairly well-sentenced case by the British justice system for a change. 46-year-old scumbag Michael Cosgrove has been sentenced to 20 years for the attempted murder and intentional strangulation against his then-partner Kerry Allan, who has since very bravely spoken out about a horrific experience and urged other victims to reach out and speak up too. Warning: this episode contains distressing details and may also include strong language. This couple had only been together for 1 year before this night of terror. Kerry stated that Michael had never, until this incident, been physically violent with her. Aggressive in nature, yes, which she did admit was a red flag from the start.
If something feels uncomfortable to you and you know deep down that something doesn't feel right, that's instantly a red flag to you, and that's something that you need to address. And when I look back now, that's something I ignored and I made allowances. That put me in so much danger. If you are experiencing red flags, or because being abusive doesn't always start off with being physical. This is the first time that Michael was ever physical with me. He'd never been physical before this night. He'd been really aggressive, and that in itself is a red flag, which escalated over 12 months. But if you're in that sort of situation, please speak to somebody, because I didn't.
But it seriously only needs to take that one fallout, that one argument that went too far, accusations or comments that can trigger an aggressor or to be physical with their partner, even when they haven't been before. Two huge triggers to this are the accusations or realisation of infidelity in the relationship, or one person threatening to leave the relationship altogether, of which both of these factors were involved in this horrifying case, and unfortunately led to this female almost losing her life, if it wasn't for her heroic neighbours calling the police. I just want to mention, guys, that the point where someone tries to leave a toxic relationship or abusive relationship is the most dangerous time of all. This is when the aggressor usually turns physical and can often murder their partner. I would first of all advise, if possible, to leave without saying a word and when that person is not there, but that is not always able to be done. The next thing would be to make sure that someone is with you when you leave. Someone you trust that can be there for you so you're not alone. And the other thing is to just not even threaten leaving in an argument. If you feel like you're going to, just do it. Don't threaten to leave. Back in the summer of 2024, Kerry and Michael had been together for a year, residing in a place called Wythenshawe, in an area of Manchester, here in England. Following an already volatile past together, where Kerry explained her partner's aggression had escalated over the 12 months, things came to an ultimate horrifying end as this pathetic male almost killed the very woman he claimed to love. Following a night out where the couple went to see a band with friends, the two ended up having a very heated argument, as just days before, Kerry had caught Michael out, messaging other women on a dating app. Why do these men never feel satisfied? Why do they feel they can treat a loving, beautiful woman terribly and cheat on them, and they won't end up leaving? After arguing and Kerry threatening to leave his sorry ass, my words by the way, not hers, this waste of oxygen decided to wrap his monster hands around her neck and proceeded to strangle her 3 separate times. Again, this is the most dangerous time of all, attempting to leave the relationship. Please take measures to stay safe. Drawing out her suffering and disturbingly telling her, "You are dead tonight," and promising her that was a fact. Oh, and he sure did mean it too. He also pathetically threatened to end his own life after hers, but of course he didn't. Surprise, surprise. Coward. He strangled the woman he supposedly loved so hard she ended up choking on her own vomit and hyperventilating, unable to breathe from being physically suffocated by a callous cheater. The ferocious attack was so loud that neighbours were alerted to Kerry and her distress, and then immediately went into action, calling the police and even capturing recordings of the incident, and the terrible audio of Kerry fighting for her life, literally, which was detrimental in the case against Michael Cosgrove in court. Amazing evidence captured and heroic deeds to help save this woman, of which she feels she owes her life to. Bless her. And to be honest, she probably does. I have seen so many true crime cases where neighbours heard things, even gunshots, people screaming, and never called the police. I mean, what's that all about? Who cares if you're going to waste police time and it's nothing? Always act if you are worried about someone's safety and life.
Even when I woke up and when it took me probably about 10 minutes to get my head together, but I knew straight away what had happened.
Thank God for your neighbours.
Yeah, they saved my life, literally.
They actually heard you
Yeah, they
screaming
heard everything,
and
and they recorded it. So they made audio recordings of him screaming and shouting and being abusive, which we used in court.
And they called the police?
They called the police.
And when the police arrived, what did they find?
So when the police arrived, they found me upstairs unconscious on the bed, face down.
This is the short footage of police breaking into the Stockport home of Kerry and Michael on the 25th of August 2024.
Entry force. This is the police! Make yourself known!
This is Kerry, and a man she thought she trusted. But their year-long whirlwind relationship culminated in one horrifying night in August last year, when during an argument, after Kerry confronted Michael Cosgrove about texting other women, he started to repeatedly strangle her.
And he was still ranting and raving, saying he was going to kill me. How he hoped I knew I was dead. He was going to kill me and then he was going to kill himself. I wasn't getting out of this bedroom alive. I remember screaming as loud as I could, and as soon as I did that, his hands were over my mouth and he was on top of me on the bed. And his hands were around my throat again, but this time he didn't stop. And then the next thing I remember is just being awake and the room was full of police and paramedics.
When officers made entry, they searched for both Michael and Kerry. Kerry had even made attempts to escape out of a bedroom window, which turned out to be futile, unfortunately. He was intent on ending her life that night. Michael had pulled Kerry away from the window and launched her onto the bed so violently it damaged her ribs. All of this because he was caught out cheating. Pathetic. The third time she was strangled, she would be left unconscious to die, choking on her own vomit, lying in her own faeces, and he was meant to love this woman? Despicable and depraved. Sick bastard. Leaving her to be found with no dignity at all. If it wasn't for the caring neighbours hearing and determining that Kerry needed police assistance, by her terrified screams and pleas for him to stop, plus those recordings they made, not only would he have almost definitely killed Kerry that night, but may have even escaped justice. They played a huge role in saving Kerry and punishing Michael. He was still present on the scene when the police arrived. Hearing the sirens and the officers' bangs and shouts before entering the home, he decided to flee by jumping out of the bathroom window. Kerry would be located by the responding officers, unconscious on her bed, where her then vile partner callously left her to die, suffering terribly and with no dignity at all. The scum did evade police for a few hours, but would be found hiding like the little weasel that he is in Kerry's own vehicle's boot. What a proper melon. The CPS Direct, the Crown Prosecution out-of-hours charging service, authorised charges overnight against Michael Cosgrove for both attempted murder and intentional strangulation, before handing over the case to the CPS North West to go forth and prosecute. Casey Nicholson from the Crown Prosecution Service said Michael Cosgrove sought to take the life of someone he claimed to love in a brutal and vicious attack. Kerry Allan believed she would die, and that is what he intended to happen. In this case, it was clear that strangulation was this coward's method of choice to kill, which is an extremely up-close, personal and very torturous way to die, you guys. I cannot imagine, but I have suffered physical abuse and strangulation in my past. I only wish I was as strong as Kerry to speak up at the time. Unfortunately, I also did not log the abuse or photograph any evidence. Plus, around 50% of people who are strangled will not have even have or shown visible injuries for evidence purposes. But this does not diminish the physical abuse or prolonged psychological harm that the act leaves upon the victim. During the trial at Manchester Minshull Street Court, medical evidence was shown to the jury, displaying clearly the injuries that Michael inflicted and left on Kerry. So obviously a very aggressive, violent and long-endured attack, even bursting blood vessels in her eyes. A ferocious attack. Strangulation is so dangerous, even in a sexual and consensual manner. Things can easily get out of hand, carried away in the moment, etc. But the truth of the matter is that the very act of strangulation can actually take someone's life in a matter of seconds. Yes, seconds, as this is the stage where someone can lose consciousness. Strangulation blocks the veins and arteries in the neck so that the oxygenated blood cannot flow to the brain, and equally, the deoxygenated blood cannot flow from the brain. It takes just 11 pounds worth of pressure to cut off someone's blood flow, so very little indeed. The next serious life-altering effect from strangulation would be brain damage, which can shockingly occur in as little as just 30 seconds. Yes, half a minute is all it could take to cause serious brain damage through the act of strangulation. Wow. So also remember that if you are into this sexually, it is very serious and can happen in the blink of an eye, and the person may not even intend it. Then, brain death, which can occur in just 4 to 5 minutes. Wow. Fucking brain dead in minutes. I tell you, I was lucky myself. The seriousness of this sickening act in a violent manner, i.e. not sexual, is a common precursor to further lethal levels of violence, so should always be taken very seriously if induced upon a victim during a toxic relationship and without consent. I beg of you to all take this major red flag very seriously and run. Also, to be clear, strangulation is not the same as choking, which occurs when the trachea is accidentally blocked, like choking on food. Strangulation is a tactic of control and abuse. Obviously, I again mean not the non-consensual kind. Unlike choking, which is an accidental internal obstruction of the airway. The vicious act is a powerful method of coercion and control, and is an expression of abusers, especially when they do not get their own way, or like in this case, caught out cheating. It shows the perpetrator's pure ability and willingness to take their victim's life at any time that they please. Kerry was so incredibly lucky to survive Michael's wicked, abusive and torturous evening of terror. All thanks to her neighbours and the police. She wished that she took the red flags more seriously and acted sooner, but I myself know that that's way easier said than done. And you hope they will change and get better, or, it's just a bad patch, blah blah blah. But if your partner can ever get aggressive and or violent with you in any way, who is to say they won't go any further?
What happened to me that night was always going to happen. I just wish that I'd recognised the signs sooner.
Strangulation is the second most common method used by men to kill women. It can form part of a pattern of abuse Bernie is used to seeing.
It's the ultimate form of control, isn't it? If you think that your life is going to be taken away from you, literally, and in the hands of the person that you trust the most, or that you're in a relationship with, then that's really scary.
It has always been associated with domestic abuse.
I've seen victims who thought they've imagined or dreamt what's happened to them, and that feeling of being completely out of control of what's happened to your body at the hands of somebody else. You can imagine how terrifying that must be.
Michael never put his hands on Kerry before this night, but as she stated herself, his aggression had only escalated in the short time period of their 12-month relationship. Huge red flag, you guys. You should never show or inflict physical violence or verbal aggression on the ones you love and adore and truly care about. Never. Expert evidence was given at the trial at Manchester Minchell Street Crown Court to both explain the danger of strangulation to the jury, but also Dr. Ewa Wolski, forensic physician with expertise in the subject, gave her opinion that the injuries that Miss Allan obtained were, in fact, life-threatening. She genuinely would have died, guys, if the police were not alerted and busted in when they did. This coward has never shown a single ounce of remorse towards Kerry and the pain and torture he inflicted upon her. Never, ever even admitted any guilt.
And when the police arrived, what did they find?
So when the police arrived, they found me upstairs unconscious on the bed, face down. And he'd escaped at that point out of the bathroom window.
But they tracked him down?
Yeah. They found him in my car 8 hours later.
Did he ever express any remorse?
None. Nothing.
Did he ever say why he'd done it?
No. He denied it all. He's never admitted anything.
It's so dreadful.
Despite his constant denials of ever even assaulting or attempting to kill Kerry Allan, the clear and amazingly captured evidence by the neighbours of the toxic couple was pivotal, and he just had no leg to stand on. On February the 25th of 2025, a jury found Michael scumbag Cosgrove guilty of both the attempted murder and strangulation of Kerry. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison on the 19th of September 2025, which I personally, knowing the British justice system, I am quite pleased with. And so was Kerry, feeling relieved and safe now her abuser is behind bars. And I think the word she used was vindicated.
You must be relieved.
Extremely relieved.
Yeah.
Massively relieved.
How does it make you feel to know he's behind bars for such a long period of time?
20 years. I feel like I got like a massive weight lifted off my shoulder now. And I feel vindicated. And I'm happy that he's got such a long sentence. I hope it sends a message to any male or female that thinks it can abuse women or treat anybody like that, because it's not acceptable.
He strangled you 3 times that night,
Yeah.
didn't he? And he told you he was going to finish you off.
Repeatedly.
Yeah?
So I just want to say Kerry's courage to tell her story is incredible. And it does send a clear message to people that if you've experienced strangulation, there is help and support out there, and it will be taken seriously.
The risk
So
factors
dangerous.
medically are phenomenal. I mean, you are
Yeah.
cutting off oxygen to the brain.
Yeah.
You can give somebody permanent brain damage, let
Yeah.
alone possibly kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the risks are unconsciousness, brain injury and death.
I think she is so incredibly brave for speaking out for herself and any other victims of domestic abuse. A staggering 92.4% of recorded strangulation incidents were related to domestic abuse. That is huge and shows us how important of a warning sign this kind of behaviour really is. Between 2024 to 2025, CPS data shows that out of 392 charges of attempted murder, 64 were flagged as being related to domestic abuse. That's nearly 1 in 6 charges of attempted murder being related to domestic abuse. That's shocking. And of course, it's not just always male on female, it can work both ways, as we all know. The CPS defined domestic abuse as any incident or pattern of incidents of controlling, coercive or threatening behaviour, or of course an accumulation of them all. These can be violence, abuse in various forms such as psychological, physical, sexual, financial or emotional. It is recognising this pattern of behaviour and abuse in toxic relationships that can be really hard to identify, especially when narcissistic people can pretend to be someone else completely, kind, gentle and loving, and then turn evil and dangerous at the drop of a hat. And then go on to love bomb the victim. Extreme red flags to look out for, of which I wish I knew about back then. People in your life who could inflict this sort of behaviour could be, the main one, intimate partners, but also family members, which is of course regardless of gender or sexuality. Family members include mother, father, sons, daughters, siblings and grandparents, literally anyone who you are related to or who are present in your life. They could be directly related, but also in-laws and stepfamily too. These descriptions apply to all victims and witnesses, irrespective of age and gender. Michael Cosgrove's 20-year conviction is a testament to the work achieved across the criminal justice system on this one, and to the neighbours of Kerry. Also, how to improve the system on how they bring together medical evidence, witness accounts, and prosecution strategies in domestic abuse cases. I am genuinely so proud of Kerry Allan for finding the strength and confidence to come forward about that terrifying night of almost near definite death by the man she loved and trusted and lived with. Her sheer bravery and taking the opportunity to raise awareness, like on the British morning show Good Morning Britain, with presenters Susanna Reid and Richard Madeley, and over on Sky News as well, sparking confidence in other strangulation and domestic abuse victims to report these crimes, and also feel that they will be taken seriously, of which this 20-year sentence has put a bit more confidence in the system into me personally. And of course, I hope it would have been life if Kerry had in fact died, like Michael clearly intended her to. But it is indeed a pretty good result. In a recorded 3-month period, nearly 2,400 charges were prosecuted by the CPS, and a shocking 9 out of 10 of these charges were linked to domestic abuse, highlighting just how much of a problem this is in our country. Pathetic little cowardly boys thinking they can raise their hands and or weapons to a woman. I bet none of them would step up to a real man. Scumbags, the lot of them. And more often than not, it's when they are either caught out cheating or the victim threatens to leave. And this story sadly included both. It's one of them. If I can't have you, no one can. Let's hope that this callous, vicious monster's time in prison is painfully slow and torturous, and that the big boys inside show him a true punishment to go along with his 20-year sentence. I hope all of his family abandoned him and don't visit him, and also hope he spends every waking minute regretting what he did and having terror flashbacks of the incident. Never sleep well, you utter prick. Another waste of oxygen and taxpayers' money, to be honest. But thanks to the courageous Kerry Allan and her brave neighbours, and of course the responding officers, plus the justice system, at least it's inside of a British prison cell that he shall be seeing every day. I wish nothing but the best for Kerry and all of her loved ones. I hope in time she will heal and be able to move on and trust in a relationship again, but always being aware of the red flags, which I have no doubt she certainly will be now. I hope she finds someone to love her just the way she is, shows her endless care, adoration and respect, and never lays a finger on her. She truly deserves nothing less, as do we all. All the best, beautiful. Thank you all for being here and watching this horrific episode. I hope some of the information I supplied was indeed informative and helps even just one person. That's all I wish for. I hope it makes a difference in people's lives. How brave Kerry was on Good Morning Britain and Sky News, bringing forth these issues, and how they can affect the victims was incredibly heroic and courageous, and I personally thank you for doing so.
Cosgrove had left her unconscious and fled by jumping out of the window. He was later found hiding in the boot of her car. His actions burst blood vessels in Kerry's eye and left her covered in bruises with a fractured rib. Her struggle evident from her snapped nails.
It was easy for me in my head to downplay what he'd done to me because I couldn't face thinking about it. What happened to me that night was always going to happen. I just wish that I'd recognised the signs sooner.
Cosgrove was found guilty of attempting to murder and intentionally strangling Kerry. She now wants other survivors of abuse to recognise the signs.
Any sort of abuse isn't okay, whether it starts off emotional. They often start off that way and they escalate, and they can escalate badly. Take what happened to me as a huge warning sign.
Kerry says she's been given a second chance at life. Not all her scars are visible, but she hopes in time they will heal.
If you yourself or anyone you know is stuck in an abusive relationship or somehow suffering from domestic abuse of any kind, please reach out to one of these helplines or search for helplines in your local area or country. Please do not stay silent. Kerry was in the end lucky, but the next person may not be. And also, if you feel a neighbour is in danger, always reach out to police. No matter what. Who cares if you waste their time? You could possibly save someone's life, just like Kerry's neighbours did. Thank you all, and stay safe out there, you guys. Back soon for more. Random Jan.